going to be beneficial. You're going to learn, the responsibilities if you don't already know them, what you have to do, the ways to do those. You're not going to remember every single button, so if you forget, where do they click for that? Don't worry, you can call us, you can email us, we'll tell you where that is. But if you're coming in and you've already been using us, it's going to be a refresher. You're going to know a lot of this, but you might see something that's a little bit more efficient than the way that you do it right now. And I apologize for the projector, it just broke. So we'll get that switched out in the second session. Go ahead.
All right, since most of you are new, we're just going to start with the basics. Logging in. Of course, GotSoccer.com. And these are logging in. Can everyone hear me? Am I talking about that? Close the door. Trusting me.
Let me ask you about the login. What if you have other logins, like if you're a team manager or a rep or a parent? Do you have to have a unique login to register to be different? Or do
Yes.
you can't combine any of those?
The answer right now is yes. We're coming up with something that's supposed to be released in the next couple of weeks where it's going to be one login area, and then basically we take you a screen like this where you say, do you want to log into your team, your coach, your club, things like that. So that's been one of the common themes. There's still going to be an individual login for each, but you'll be able to have what's called a master username and password, and that will get you into any one of your
Like if I have a family login right now.
Right. Just leave the door open for now.
All right.
Just leave the door open just that way it's warm. Right now.
All right. Again, we're just starting with the basics. I'm just logging in. So you go to GotSoccer.com, user login, and then organizations. Here you're going to put in soccer. I'm logging into So we're logged in as a master account. So we're not necessarily logged into just the registrar, but this is a home overview of the master, what the master login looks like. First, we're going to start with how to add players to the club account. Oh, user accounts. So the home tab will take you. This is where you can set up individual user accounts for different administrators within the club. Here you can see you can add as many as you need. To create an account, of course, you just click Create Club Official User Account. And here you can give them a unique username and password that starts, with your club prefix.
Every sub-user is going to have these slashes. So you see like soccer slash. If you're a sub-user, that's what you're going to be logging in with. Really, there aren't any differences between a master and a sub-user that has full access, unless you use just for online registration and you can't put in a merchant information. But that's done one time, and that's it. So that's really only the thing about a master. Yes.
Under the administrators there that you're putting in the users, board members and DOCs and whatnot. Now, obviously, DOC more than likely is going to be a coach also. Those accounts are supposed to automatically merge, correct?
They're linked together through risk management. So the risk management report is the same on both the DOC and the individual coach. You're going to have a drop-down list on like the top right when you're logged in that you can change between staff or coach or manager or whatever that role might be that it's connected to. The reason that we would suggest having two accounts, one, the DOC might need access to the club, but secondly, let's say FYSA wants to email out to all DOCs for whatever it might be, or all presidents about something, AGM. They can then email out, and if you don't have them labeled like DOC in here, they're not going to get that email. So they should, if it's a risk management, be connected to a drop-down list.
What I encountered was about half of mine twice and do risk management twice.
They shouldn't. What's happening there, they're hitting check reports. So as soon as they do a background check once, you can hit check reports to do your second check. It doesn't, you don't have to rerun it, it just checks it. What people do is Thomas on the first check, and then when he adds himself as a coach, he puts in Tom.
Right.
And it's checking first name, last name, gender, and date of birth. If those don't match up identically, it's not finding that report. They're saying, I'm just going to do a second.
Well, is there a way to consolidate them like you can in other parts of GotSoccer?
You can detach the report, and we'll go into some of these buttons as well, but what you can do is detach the report, contact one of us, and we'll find out where the name actually is, if it's Tom or Thomas, change it, and then hit check again, and it will link it to the original. So there is a way to do that.
Can you do that, or do we have to call you to do that, to change?
You can, if you know, again, if it's like a Tom and Thomas situation, and you find out, oh, one that his name is Thomas, if you type in, if you detach the report, then you type in Thomas and you hit check reports, now it's going to link to that original one that he did, and now they can switch between accounts.
So, question?
With the user accounts, is there a way other than like the master account, to hide the passwords, so they're not accessible to people with full access? Seems kind of like a security breach there.
Anyone with full access that you're giving access to this home tab here, I always say only a couple people should have access to that. The registrar, maybe the president. That's really it. If you don't need to add users, create users, modify users, you don't get access. You scroll down a little bit, Matt. Matt, you scroll down a little bit. Sorry.
I don't
Two
use
fingers
left.
swipe does it.
Oh, okay. I'm a desktop.
This home box, you shouldn't have, only really one or two people in the entire club should have access to that. There isn't a need for a board member, or if they're board members, they might argue that point with me, but there isn't a need for a DLC to have access to this home area. So really the registrar, the president, are probably the two people that I would say should have access to that.
And one more thing, sorry. Is there a way to, if somebody coaches at a rec level and somebody coaches at the competitive level, you have to make two separate accounts for them?
No.
Because they don't, how do they show up with each individual group then?
You just put them on, put them on two separate teams. They're going to show as competitive, but they can be on a recreational team.
No, let's say you want to communicate with competitive coaches, or you want to communicate with rec coaches. They're going to be left off of one of the lists, is what I'm saying. Unless you actually create two separate coaching accounts.
Right. I don't think that's too much of a common theme in there. If it is, try and remember those individuals on that case, or you could create a duplicate and just have it for email purposes. There isn't a way to have somebody labeled as recreational and competitive for one coach.
And would the risk management be attached, or you have to submit it?
Yeah, you can just do that check reports button. We're going to go through, and every few minutes we're going to ask if there's questions. We just want to keep it a little bit of a flow, so that way. Yeah. And the third session today, by the way, I know it's blank on there. I'm going to go over online registration in there, and it's just going to be a general Q&A. I'll start with Q&A on the third session this afternoon. Just anything from this topic to that topic, such as that question in there. And then we'll go into online registration.
So this is where you can assign the different user tabs they can have access to. The website, software. You can check as many as you want, as many as the person needs. Billing extended is, again, if you use our online registration. Just basic information, address, birthday. You can check reports from the user account if they already have like a coach or a manager account. That's pretty basic when you send it up.
The access level, you're going to have three options: full access, basic access, and limited access. Full access is kind of what it sounds like. It's everything that you give them access to. So if you don't give them access to the home tab, they still have full, so the club, they can do anything they want within there. They can't view other users. Basic is kind of an obsolete term. If those of you that have been around a while, this is a new option here. Basic used to be you couldn't add or modify users, and that was the only way. We've added this home tab, so basic really doesn't do too much in there. Limited is viewing rights only. So again, now a president that's not coming into the system, he might just log in to see how many players or how many coaches or whatever it might be. They might just want limited access. Those are the 3 access levels.
Limited is the absolute lowest you can get to.
Yes. So viewing rights only, they can't save, they can't delete, can't do anything like that.
We're going to add players. We're going to how to add players. Of course, home, and then you go to club, and then players. And when it first pops up, if you already have players in the system, it's going to show the list of all the players you have in there and all the different search filters that you need to find specific players. You can go by name. From here, you can set level grade. You can enroll players in a specific program, but I'll show you how to add. You just click Create Player Profile. From here, ID number, name. Oh, okay. There's basic information, contact information, and then from here you can assign them to a team as well. There's different avenues to assign players to teams. This is one of them. So after you put in the information, you hit Save Player. And what this does is it will automatically create them a GotSoccer player account. So they will receive an email as soon as you hit Save. It says, thank you for registering GotSoccer. It'll ask them to log in.
The assigning team, that's something that's a list you also created.
Right,
We'll go into
teams,
yeah.
Absolutely. We'll go into that in just a minute. There's basically 3 ways to get players into the system. You can individually type players like Matt's showing right now. It's probably the least efficient way. But if it's a couple players come in late or whatever it might be, it's probably the easiest way at that point if you're looking at 5 or 10. If you just take paper registrations right now and you're going to type them into a spreadsheet, then I would say it's equal to that because you're typing it in, whether it be a spreadsheet or into the system, it's going in one way or the other. The most efficient way to get players into the system is the online registration portion. We'll go into that on the 3rd piece, but that's where you take online payments, the parent signs up, they're the ones typing the information, so there's no inaccurate, you spell the name wrong, the parent might spell the name wrong, but hopefully they know their child. But online registration, and then the 3rd way is uploading players from a spreadsheet. That would be, uploading would be basically if you had another system, if you use online registration through someone that's not GotSoccer, you would export out of that system and upload into our system.
Or just in case it takes out. If they don't have that system.
A CSV file, right? Just change it to a CSV.
So after you have all the players built in and you have the list of players, if you need to, then you can set them to be active. They're not registered. Okay. But you can set specific players' level grades just by checking their box, the box next here, next to their ID number, and going up to set level grade. And here you can.
So right now, ours all say not.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
So I need to go in and change all of them?
No.
Oh, when you assign them to a team.
Right, that's the most efficient way to set a level, is not actually this way. You can do it this way for individual
Yeah.
players. When you put them on a team, they automatically take the level of that team.
So there's just different avenues to do.
How long does it take them to get an ID number? If they're new and they haven't been in there?
It's pretty instant. There's a button that you can do it in bulk, or you can do them individually. If you go back to create player profile, that little, once you add the player, that turns to a little plus. You just hit that plus button and it will do it for that one player.
Okay.
It's always going to look for the little things.
And if you have it for all the players, you can do them all at once.
Okay.
I'll show that.
Question.
Yes.
On the player creation page, is there any reason why it doesn't fully validate when you're trying to select a team? So what I mean by that is, if I set up a player, why doesn't it only allow me, show me that teams that they're eligible for? Because what we've run into in the past is, I take an underage player, right, and it's a boy, and I fill out everything's filled out, I go back to assign a team, and I get all start registering in the next, if we haven't started already, we don't hit our rosters for several months. And at that point, you could have a player that's been assigned to a team that they're not eligible
Right.
for.
The reason that that's in there is some of you might use a tool where you sometimes suggest creating a team not in good standing, for example. And you assign all your players that are not in good standing to a team. This is just a player list. There's always an exception to the rule, so we can't put a roadblock up like that. You know, what about right on reds? You know, if a barrier at a stop sign or at a red light is our example, why is it not a barrier? Well, it's right on red. And what about emergency vehicles? So it's always an exception to the rule where whether it be top soccer or some recreational team where you're going to allow this 12-year-old to play with 16-year-olds, where you get approval from the state or whatever it might be. There's always an exception to the rule, so we have to accommodate for that. It won't let you put them on an official roster, but you can put them on what we call the player list. And that's the way it works.
It just seems like there needs to be a way to either highlight or, you know, like, this is an exception, like, you could put them on this team, but understand you're gonna have to have an exception. We ran into a situation where we registered a kid, and then
I don't want to get too hung up on that. I mean, I see your point, but unfortunately right now, because of the parameters that every state has, that's not going to change. You're going to be able to have that. So we were on, so we've gone over the 3 ways to upload players. If you go back to upload players real quick.
Yeah.
The one thing we didn't talk about are the required fields. And actually, if you just log into SLU real quick. What you've got on your spreadsheet is you're going to have certain required fields: first name, last name, gender, date of birth, and competitive level. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, those are the 5 required fields from a spreadsheet. The competitive level has to match exactly to what FYSA has, and it has a list of them. Is there anyone in here that wants us to use their club as an example while we go through this, by the way? What's that? Which club is that?
You said first, last, gender, level, what was the 5th one?
Right here. So when you go to upload players, it's going to have a list for you: first name, last name, gender, date of birth, and competitive level, and it will list the levels that you can have. They have to be exact. So even the capitalization of that, recreational, capital R, not recreation. If you try to upload a spreadsheet and it says 0 rows imported, that's what it is. 90% of the time. Oh, yeah, this is okay. So this is something FYSA just turned on this year. A couple states have requested this. They actually have to report to US Youth Soccer this information, so they've now required, as you can now see, player address, city, state, zip, player phone, player email, parent name, parent phone. Player email is 99% of the time parent email. So it doesn't matter what order those are in your spreadsheet. It's irrelevant. It's just a mapping. You just say this is the player first name. This column is player last name. How many in here, just from a show of hands so I can see, how many use online registration right now? Okay, so quite a few. And how many do not? Just so I can. Okay, so for those that just raise their hand, this is really how you're going to get the players into the system through this upload process. And for online registration, for those if you want to see, you know, if you've been using it for years, you probably know everything. Otherwise, that third session will be beneficial.
I have a question. Let's say you do it all on, we use Active to do our online registration or the Excel spreadsheet, but my players are in here. It's hard to just sit there and read through. Who's in the system GotSoccer, who's new registrations? Do you map them or they come in as duplicates?
If the first name, last name, gender, and date of birth match identically, it's going to not duplicate. Now again, if Thomas is uploaded as Tom this time, now you're going to have that. That's
normal, I get
it's
that.
small. But if the first, last, gender, date of birth match, there aren't the.
And do you update their address if the?
Yep, everything gets updated. Whatever you upload is going to update that.
But of the duplicates, will you update their address if it's newer, even though you're ignoring their names? I'll send you an email.
All right, so again, when we talk about the 3 responsibilities, that's getting players into the system. Now we're going to show getting teams in and getting those players on teams, the most efficient way to do so. One thing I didn't say when you upload players is you actually can create teams during that upload process. You need 3 additional columns: team name, team end page, and team gender. If you have all 3 of those in there, it will create the teams for you. Team names need to, if they're already in the system, need to match identically as well. That's one where if you're doing an entire upload like that, try one age group, make sure it's doing it the way you want it to do it, and then upload the full spreadsheet. Don't upload 1,000 players at one time, kind of hoping that it's going to work. Upload 50 or more, so that makes our life easier when we go try to clean it up.
So adding teams, you go to club and then teams, of course. And here you can see your list of teams. And to add a team, of course, you hit add team. And here's where you can set the level grade, club name. You probably won't leave that alone. Team name. And then some people, they'll put in their club name in the team name, but then when it's listed, it's going to have your club name and then the club name again. So just put in the team name. Some people make that mistake, and it looks weird when it's displayed somewhere for a tournament. It looks like Indian River, and have another team, the team name. Here you can prevent the team, group, or state change by manager, add or release of players by manager. Pretty much so that way the coaches and managers can't add or release players without your consent. Everything has to go through the club. You can hide the team roster page and email tools. I probably wouldn't want to do that.
Right. The only thing that's really used for is if you're building recreational teams and you don't want, and the coach has that